Hands down, the most stressful part about traveling these days is getting through that TSA line. I don't know about you, I'm not much of a rule breaker, but there is something intimidating about an authority figure in a uniform that makes me nervous, and I don't want to make them mad. So today, I'm going to go over all of those things that you should avoid doing so you don't piss off the TSA agents. Let's go. Hey y'all, and welcome. If you're new here, I'm Christi, the Gen X Gypsy, helping you to travel better so you can focus on creating unforgettable memories. And one of my most unforgettable memories is when I tried to bring a full bottle of liquor through the security line in Peru. Yup, me, the seasoned traveler, had a major forgetful moment, and I tried to bring a bottle of coffee-flavored liqueur through the security line. Ay, ay, ay. Luckily for me, my security agent was really nice. In fact, she asked me if I wanted to go ahead and drink that bottle before I left the security area. I was like, no thanks. But looking back, maybe I should have. It was a 17-hour flight. I was very lucky to have a nice agent for that particular incident. But I have seen a lot of instances when TS agents have not been very nice. So today we're going to go over the mistakes that you should avoid doing in the security line so you don't piss off those TSA agents. Mistake number one is poor packing. You need to make sure that you are packing your carry-on and your personal item to expedite your way through the TSA line. You want to have your liquids bag all packed up and ready to go, and somewhere in either your carry-on or your personal item that it's easy to pull that baby out. Yes, I realize that there are airports where they don't make you pull out your liquids bag anymore. However, you don't know because they are constantly changing the rules. So have that liquids bag ready to go just in case you do need to pull it out. And the same goes for your larger electronics, like your laptop or your iPad. In fact, I would suggest that if you are bringing a laptop and you usually carry that laptop in a sleeve like I do, that you don't pack it in the sleeve until you get through security. Now, if you are traveling with medications, like if you're diabetic and you've got insulin, or perhaps you're breastfeeding and you're traveling with breast milk, you're going to want to have those items packed close to the top to be able to pull out as well. They're not going to probably make you pull them out and put them in a gray bin to go through security, but they may get flagged when they go through the scanner and you're going to need to pull them out on the other side. I would also suggest that you have most of your electronics in little bags so that if there's anything questionable that they want to look at, it's something easy you can pull out and you're not having to dig through everything in your suitcase or your personal item to get to them. And lastly, for this packing, if you're bringing along snacks and food to enjoy during your travels, which I highly recommend, you might want to have that stuff in a bag that you can pull out too. There was a while there that they were making you pull out your bag of food and then they're not. So, you know, just be safe and have your food in a bag close to the top with everything else. Pack wisely for getting through TSA. Mistake number two is trying to bring liquids through that are in containers larger than 100 milliliters or 3.4 ounces. And the two biggest culprits I see for this mistake are people who have forgotten they have hand cream in their purse or their personal item that, they just carry around with them all the time. And the second one is people not finishing the water in their water bottles. Now, I'm a huge proponent of bringing a refillable water bottle when you travel, but just make sure that you go ahead and finish all of that water before you get to the TSA line. You can either finish it there while you're standing, or they usually do have garbage cans that they are fine with you dumping the water out into the garbage can and then putting your bottle back in with your personal item. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, of course, and that is you are now allowed to bring a 12-ounce bottle of hand sanitizer with you. You can also bring medications that are in bottles larger than 100 milliliters or 3.4 ounces, and the same goes with breast milk. Moving on to mistake number 3, and that is not removing everything from your pockets. The airport scanners, body scanners, and screeners are constantly being changed and updated, and some are more sensitive than others, so you want to make sure that everything is out of your pockets. Not just your keys or your wallet or your cell phone, but little things like cough drops, chapstick, probably even Kleenex, I've heard might make some of the scanners go off. So just empty out those pockets thoroughly before you go through your body scanner. Mistake number 4 is not keeping a close eye on your stuff as it goes through the scanner. The TSA is not there to prevent theft. They are there to keep us safe in the air, and they are not responsible if your stuff gets stolen. So make sure you are watching all of your items closely as they go along the conveyor belt. My tip for helping you do this the best way, and the way that I do it, is the order in which you put the items on the conveyor belt. If I'm traveling with carry-on only, I will start with my suitcase first, then I will put my personal item bag, which is usually a backpack, up on the conveyor belt, and then I'll have a gray bin that I put my shoes in, I put my jacket in, probably a scarf because I'm usually wearing a scarf, my liquids bag if they want me to remove my liquids bag, and those items. And then the last gray bin will be the bin that I put my laptop in. I put my laptop in the last bin because then I can keep an eye on that for the longest period of time. And usually by the time I'm going through the body scanner, my laptop is already into the flaps or whatever of the conveyor belt for it to be scanned. And by the time I have made it through the body scanner and I'm over to the other side, my laptop is just making its way down the conveyor belt because it will be the last thing of my items to come out. So I think that is the best way to keep a close eye on your stuff. Now, I have never had an experience with theft at the airport, and I don't know anybody who has ever had anything stolen at the airport, or especially in the TSA line. But let me know in the comments below if you guys have ever had experience with theft in an airport. And if so, what are your tips for staying safer when you are going through the TSA line? Mistake number 5 is not knowing what you can or cannot bring in your carry-on bag. Do you know what the #1 TSA confiscated item is every year? Pocket knives. That's right. The TSA ends up with thousands and thousands of pocket knives at the end of the year, which they end up selling. And if you're curious about where the money from the sale of those pocket knives goes, like I was, so I looked it up, it goes to pay down our national debt. I don't think it's making much of a dent in our national debt. If you are unsure about an item and have questions, there are several places that you can go to find out if you can bring that item in your carry-on bag. Of course, you can go to the TSA website or you can use the TSA app, both of which I will have linked in the description below. But you can also use the Ask TSA Facebook page or the Ask TSA Twitter page to ask them there if the item can be brought with you. In addition, if you go and use the Facebook or Twitter pages, you can post a picture of the item and even put in the Amazon link if you have it to give them a little bit more information so they can answer you more thoroughly. Mistake number 6 is not listening to the TSA agent's instructions to the people in front of you. The rules for TSA are constantly changing, and they are different from airport to airport and can even be different in the same airport from hour to hour. We don't know what is going on behind the scenes, so we need to always be listening carefully to what the TSA agent is telling us to do. It's very frustrating to them if they've told the person right in front of you that they don't need to take their liquids bag out, and then you come up and you're holding up the line because you're trying to pull your liquids bag out. So you might get a little bit of a gruff response there. This is especially true when it comes to shoes. Sometimes, most of the time, you still have to take your shoes off, but occasionally there are times that you don't need to take your shoes off. And think about the time you can save yourself and the other people in line behind you if you're listening to the TSA instructions not to take your shoes off. The best thing to do, and I know there is so much going on when you're in that TSA line, but you need to keep your eyes and your ears open for all of the instructions so that you can smoothly move through the security line and not hold up the people behind you or possibly make the TSA agent mad. Mistake 7. In addition to closely listening to the TSA agent's instructions to the people in front of you, you want to make sure that you don't try to engage the TSA agent in extraneous conversation, like asking how their day is going or making jokes. Now, it is perfectly acceptable to ask clarification questions like, do I need to take out my bag of medications? Do I need to take my sweater off? Those types of questions are perfectly fine. But the thing you don't want to do is be sharing the newest dad joke, or especially making jokes about security issues. You especially don't want to get into an argument with the TSA agent. If they ask you a question, just answer them as directly and with as few words as you possibly can. Try to avoid over-explaining anything, and definitely don't try to get into an argument with them. The best thing you can do in this situation is stay calm and polite, and don't get angry and frustrated. The TSA agent has full discretion over whether you get further screening or perhaps one of your items needs further screening, and ultimately they can be the one who decides whether you get to fly or not. Mistake number 8, and our last mistake, and that is not picking up the empty gray bins and putting them on the stack with the other gray bins. Now, honestly, I just think it's rude when people leave the empty gray bins on the conveyor belt for other people to pick up, but there's also a benefit to doing the polite thing, and that is when you pick up your empty bins to put onto the stack, it gives you an opportunity to look in that bin and make sure you're not leaving anything behind. I cannot tell you the number of people who have told me about leaving their cell phone in the gray bin at security. It happens so many times. If you're looking for more tips and hacks on how to get through airport security quickly and stress-free, check out one of these videos next. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe if you'd like more travel tips, hacks, and inspiration. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.